You're sitting in a meeting room with your boss and your coworkers. Your boss has given you this list of things that need to change in the office. And while he talks, his cell phone buzzes. He picks it up, he laughs, he replies, and he sets it back down. This happens 3 or 4 times during the meeting, until the final time he picks it up, he sets it down and he says, "I just bought tires." And then he proceeds to tell you that he's been walking around the office and he has noticed that everyone spends way too much time on their cell phones. Really? He did not realize it at the time, but he was leading by example. And that group has yet to put down their cell phones. We are all leaders. Can you tell me what a leader is, Susie?
Someone that paves the way and sets an example.
Right? Leaders influence other people. Well, we all have an influence on other people. In what way do you influence the people around you, Margaret?
I influence my daughter by being her parent, and I set an example, and probably my colleagues, especially those that are on my team, in the same way.
That's right. We are parents, siblings, co-workers, and we're best friends. And everything we say and do has an impact on someone. Jenny, can you tell me something that you do today that you learned from your mother?
Absolutely. My mother was an excellent example. She always took the time to listen to us, and it's what I try to do with my daughter and my coworkers. It's one of the reasons I'm still involved in Toastmasters, so I can continue to learn to listen even better.
That's great. Ron, can you tell me something that you do in the workplace that you learned from your boss? Good or bad, and we promise we won't tell.
My boss has many good qualities, I think. He's definitely dynamic and aggressive, and he needs to be. He's not afraid to speak out his mind to his bosses. I have observed him do that on many occasions when he is put in a tight spot. He seems to be able to speak his mind without fear, which is the way I always thought I would be in my workplace, but I find myself biting my tongue or stifling my thoughts sometimes. So I wish I could learn that from him.
Well, thank you.
In the right way. I hope I don't learn it the bad way and put it in my mouth.
Thank you, Ron. Every day we influence other people, and likewise, they influence us. I encourage you to do what you need to do to lead your friends or your family members, your coworkers in the right direction. And I'd like to give you some suggestions on how to lead by example. Number 1, watch what you say. How many of you have children?
Yes.
Have you ever been in a public place when your child shouts out your favorite cuss word?
Yeah.
Yes, got a no over there. I was in a situation like this one time. The neighbor from next door came over and invited me and my children to go to a Sunday Easter service. At that point in time, my children had never been to church. And the youth minister was up there on stage and he was doing magic tricks and he was saying, Jesus Christ did this and Jesus Christ did that. And my adorable 4-year-old son, loud enough for everybody to hear him, said, "Why is that man cussing?" The only thing that my son had learned from me was that Jesus Christ was bad language. This can also be true in the workplace. Try to imagine somebody saying something about you that may or may not be true, but they've developed an opinion about you, and they've shared it with your coworkers. I have a coworker that does not like me. I said something to her one time, and she decided that I am a horrible person. They all know me. Am I a horrible person?
No,
No.
you're not.
But even though she was not a leader, she influenced the thoughts and feelings of my coworkers. And it is very difficult for me to lead my group because of it. You wouldn't want this happening to you. So I suggest that if you don't like a coworker, don't share it with your coworkers. If you need to talk about it, go home to your friends and family and rant there. But in the workplace, just because somebody said something that you don't like doesn't make them a bad person. So keep it to yourself. And practice the concept. If it's not positive or necessary, don't share it. Suggestion number 2. Take responsibility for your own actions. Arnold Glasgow said that a leader will take more than his share of blame and a little less of his share of credit. Taking responsibility for your actions is crucial in life. Susie, do you know somebody who does the same thing over and over again, but blames his mistake on something or someone else?
My son, he is the world's worst to always point the finger and say it's so-and-so's fault. We get that in school and sometimes at home as well, and trying to get him out of that habit and take responsibility for his own action has been very difficult. So we're still working on that.
And in some cases that can be known as a victim mentality. It wasn't me. People refuse to take responsibility for their own actions. But if you make a mistake, just admit it. And if you tell somebody something that leads them to make a mistake, apologize for it, take the steps to correct it, but never leave them to suffer the consequences by themselves. I had a situation once where a coworker of mine was being reprimanded for something else, but in the course of the meeting, the supervisor said to her, "You've been sending emails incorrectly, and you're really upsetting our clients." Well, this was something I had told her to do. So I stood up and I said, no, I told her to do that. That's not her fault. And so we corrected the action. I didn't have to stand up and take the blame for that, but I would never want somebody to let me take that fall for them either. So I encourage you to remember that you should do unto others as you would have done to yourself. Number 3, practice what you preach. Finish the sentence. Actions speak louder than words. I had a supervisor at one time, a while back. He was always on his cell phone. He was always late to work. And he took more than his share of breaks per day. All the while, he was preaching to his team, put down that cell phone. Be to work on time. You get 2 15-minute breaks a day. Kristen, why do you think that team never learned to follow those rules?
Because their example wasn't following the same rules.
That's correct. In order for him to convey that we should actually follow these rules, he should set the example and practice what he preaches by setting his cell phone down, coming to work on time, and only taking 2 15-minute breaks. So leading by example sounds really easy, doesn't it? It's not as hard as it may think, but we do a lot of times want to do as I say, not as I do. But the rewards of leading by example will far outweigh the consequences, if there are any. So if you don't want your kids to use bad language, then don't use bad language. If you don't want your coworkers to say negative things, show them how to be positive. And if you want your employees to follow the office rules, then do it first. We are all leaders in some way. Tell me again how you are a leader, Ron.
That's a hard question to answer, and only because I feel it's for others to say. Sometime back I did a speech here on servant leadership, I hope I'm a leader because I truly believe in servant leadership principles. And I believe in leading by authority, not by power. So that would be my claim to trying to be a leader.
Thank you. Kristen, how are you a leader?
Just by trying to teach others what they need to do, the things that I know that I can do well. That way they can come follow the same thing.
All right. We are all leaders. We are parents, co-workers, friends, siblings, and supervisors. We have a responsibility to those who follow us to show them the right way to do it. Remember to watch what you say, take responsibility for your own actions, and practice what you preach. And you can lead by example.